Hello everyone. Welcome back. In this session we will learn about spread operator and rest operator. The spread and rest operators are features in JavaScript introduced with ES6. Though they use the same syntax with 3 dots, they serve different purposes depending on the context in which they're used. So to understand it, let's look into demos of spread operator and demos for rest operator. So I'm going to give 3 different uses of spread operator and 3 different uses of rest operator. So to demonstrate, I am going to create a folder called 05 spread and rest operator demo, and within that I am going to create 2 subfolder, and one for spread operator demo and another demo for rest operator. Now I will create a file to demo how to clone arrays and objects using spread operator. So let's write the code. Here I am creating array 1 variable, this array containing the elements 1, 2, 3. The next line uses the spread operator to create a shallow copy of array 1 and assigns it to array 2. This means that array 2 will have the same elements as array 1, but it will be a different array in memory. The console.log array2 statement then prints the contents of array 2, which will output 1, 2, 3. Next, let's look into how to clone objects. Here I am creating a variable obj1, which is defined as an object with properties A and B, having values 1 and 2 respectively. Similar to the array example, the spread operator is used to create a shallow copy of obj1 and assigns it to obj2. This results in obj2 having the same properties and values as obj1, but as a separate object in memory. The console.log obj2 statement prints the contents of obj2, which will output A1, B2. The term shallow copy means that only the first level of the array or object is copied. If the original array or object contains other nested arrays or objects, those nested elements are not deeply copied. Instead, references to the original nested elements are copied. This is an important distinction to make when working with more complex data structures. Next demo, I am going to show you about merging 2 arrays and merging 2 objects. So I am going to create a file called 02 merge arrays and objects.js. Now let's write the code. So first let's create 2 arrays. Array 1 and array 2, and then create merged array object, and here we will use spread operator like this way to merge 2 arrays. And we run this code, then you will notice that we will get all the array item of variable array 1 and all the item of array 2 will be available inside merged array variable. But before executing it, let's write the code to merge 2 objects. So I will create object 1 and object 2, then I will create a merged object, and within that I will use the spread operator like this to merge 2 objects. And when you print the merged object, you will get the merged properties from both the objects inside merged object. Now let's run it and verify the same. And over here you see that the first output is for merged array and the second output is for merged object. So guys, we have seen second use of spread operator. Now let's proceed further and see the third demo of spread operator. In the third demo, we can use the spread operator to pass elements of an array as individual arguments to a function. So for that I have created 03 function argument.js file. Now let's write the code. Here I am defining a function named sum that takes 3 arguments x, y, and z. The function returns the sum of these 3 arguments. This is a straightforward function that simply adds the 3 input values together and returns the result. Following the function definition, an array named numbers is declared and initialized with 3 elements, 1, 2, and 3. This array is intended to provide the values that will be passed to the sum function. The console.log statement is used to print the result of calling the sum function to the console. Now let's run it. The sum function is called with the spread operator applied to the numbers array. The spread operator expands the array into individual elements, effectively passing the values 1, 2, and 3 as separate arguments to the sum function. As a result, the sum function computes the sum of 1, 2, and 3, which is 6, and this value is printed to the console. This code demonstrates the use of the spread operator to pass array elements as individual arguments to a function, which can be particularly useful when dealing with functions that require a fixed number of arguments but the values are stored in an array. Now let's proceed further and look into the demo of rest operator. Spread operator and rest operator look similar, but their usage varies. So the first demo, we will see how we can use REST operator as function parameters. So for that, I have created this file. Now let's write the code. Here I am defining a function named sum that utilizes the REST parameter syntax to accept an indefinite number of arguments. The REST parameter syntax is represented by the args notation, which allows the function to gather all the arguments passed to it into a single array named args. Inside the function, the reduce method is called on the args array. The reduce method is a powerful array method that processes each element of the array and accumulates a single result. In this case, the reduce method is used to calculate the sum of all the elements in the args array. The reduce method takes two arguments, a callback function and an initial value. The callback function itself takes two parameters, ACC, the accumulator, and cur, the current element being processed. The callback function adds the current element, cur, to the accumulator, ACC, and returns the result. The initial value for the accumulator is set to 0. As the reduce method iterates over the args array, it continuously adds each element to the accumulator, resulting in the total sum of all the elements. Finally, the sum function returns this accumulated value, which represents the sum of all the arguments passed to the function. Now let's run it. This implementation of the sum function is flexible and can handle any number of arguments, making it a versatile solution for summing an arbitrary number of values. This is the first use case of REST operator. Now let's proceed further and look into the second demo of REST operator. In this demo, we will use REST operator to perform destructuring of arrays. I am creating this file to demo you how to destructure arrays. So let's write the code now. Here I am writing code to perform destructuring assignment to assign the first element of the array to the variable first, the second element to the variable second, and the remaining elements to the variable rest. The REST syntax is known as the REST parameter, which collects all remaining elements of the array into a new array. As a result, first is assigned the value 1, second is assigned the value 2, and rest is assigned the array 3, 4, 5. The subsequent lines use console.log to print the values of these variables to the console. The statement console.log first outputs 1, which is the value of the first variable. Similarly, console.log second outputs 2, the value of the second variable. Finally, console.log rest outputs 3, 4, 5, which is the array containing the remaining elements of the original array. This technique is particularly useful for extracting specific elements from an array while still having access to the remaining elements, making the code more readable and maintainable. Now let's proceed further and look into last demo of REST operator. In this demo, I will show you how to destructure objects using REST operator. So for that, I am creating this JS file. Now let's write the code to demonstrate how to use REST operator to destructure objects. Here in this code, I am defining an object with 3 properties, A, B, and C, each assigned the values 1, 2, and 3, respectively. The second line uses destructuring assignment to extract the property from the object and assign it to the variable A. The REST syntax is known as the REST parameter, which collects all remaining properties of the object into a new object. As a result, A is assigned the value 1, and rest is assigned the object, B, 2, C, 3. The subsequent lines use console.log to print the values of these variables to the console. The statement console.log, A, outputs 1, which is the value of the variable. Similarly, console.log rest outputs B, 2, C, 3, which is the object containing the remaining properties of the original object. This technique is particularly useful for extracting specific properties from an object while still having access to the remaining properties, making the code more readable and maintainable. Now before closing, let's recap spread operator versus rest operator. So, let's start with their purpose. The spread operator is used to expand elements into individual items. Think of it as unpacking values from arrays or objects. The rest operator, on the other hand, is the opposite. It's used to collect multiple elements into a single array or object. Next up, context. Where do you use these? The spread operator works in arrays, objects, and function calls. For example, if you want to combine arrays or pass array elements as individual arguments to a function, you will use spread. The REST operator is more about function parameters and destructuring. It's super handy when you're working with variable arguments or need to handle the leftover values. Now, the big question, how do we use them? The spread operator is all about spreading values, whether you're copying arrays, merging objects, or passing function arguments. The REST operator collects all those extra values into a single array or object. It's like saying, give me everything else. So guys, we are done with this session. In the next session, we will learn about arrow functions. On this note, I am stopping over here. See you in the next session.